Good morning.
Good morning.
I don't like butts and I cannot lie. They screw up every damn reply.
That was another line added to it.
Oh, this is going to be good today. This is going to be good today. Okay, we're going to help people with their keynotes. And it's keynotes, it's any type of presentation. And when I was doing the invite for this, I couldn't believe it's funny how you forget how many things you put together with all the TEDx talks I've helped with, all the leadership change management presentations, all of the TV interviews, all the book pitches. It's
Hmm.
all the same formula. It really is. And what's so cool, we actually do like the bots, but it's how you prompt them. And that's what's really cool, right? Because you're building some cool
100%.
stuff for yourself too, right?
That's right. I mean, we shifted to a cooler name, call them agents versus bots,
Mm,
because that's who doesn't like agents, right?
right? How could you not? I
I
still,
know.
I still like Rob's Agent Robert Graves. I'm still my favorite so far. It's a really good shout out to Royal LePage.
That's
Okay,
right.
who are we? We're guiding you today. So, two seats at one table. And this is one of the things that we're going to repeat time and time again because it's really interesting. You're going to go get help from SEO. You're going to go get help from your automation. You're going to go get help with your voice. You're going to go do all this. And it's all this disjointed stuff.
Hmm.
And we sit at the same table with everything we do. And I'm going to tell everyone there used to be 11 people that I work beside, and it's now you and I. And I love
Hmm.
it. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. So we take care of everything. So there's all these topics on how to get your voice out there. And in the background, we have the approach and we have Blue Cow.
Hmm.
And then together we call it Enriched. So you see the logo up top. And that's just kind of our, I don't know, maybe we'll do some branding on it. I'm not sure yet. But we have it out there. Doer of cool things. So I get called a performance coach, strategy coach, all that kind of stuff. But it's really how do we build that foundation first? And it's all about prompting the agent. How do you do it? How do you get them to work behind you to
Hmm.
get this to actually work? And you do all those automations, you do that reach, that repurpose, and that revenue generation because so many times people do that work,
Hmm.
but they don't do the big work. And that's that whole big how do you repurpose and how do you build the machine, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and when you look at the machine or any type of system, we were always limited to just looking forward, meaning that, we'd build lead funnels and different things like that. And it was like, okay, once the lead got in your system, where you had stepping them forward to forward and that type of stuff. But we've been so lucky with the tools that are out there now that, these agents or systems that we're building can have a 360 view of like looking behind, like where did they come, what, like were there any meetings that you had before, like building it so that everything can come into play. So even down to building a keynote, and if you had all of your meeting notes, all your presentations, all your webinars that are all indexed and stored and saved and everything, you no longer have to sit there and open up files and go through and try to remember stuff. You can actually use a prompt to say, okay, go back and pull information from this. What did I say? What were some of the lessons? What can we pull into a keynote? Like all those kind of brainstorming ideas and pull real relevant data into it.
hmm
Right.
I did a keynote a couple of weeks ago, my last one, and I used a tool that actually helped me with my high points. So I used the tool the whole entire time with practicing my keynote, but I let them know exactly where I really wanted to hit, what was the really important parts, plus the 8-minute pitch formula that I'm putting in here too, and I'll show everyone today. And then I used it, I recorded myself while I was giving the keynote, and then I was able to go back to it and say, okay, where did I miss? Where did I hit? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And it even collected the reaction to the audience. It's so important and it's such a great tool to be able to utilize when you're doing this because
Mm-hmm.
I call them keynotes. It's any type of presentation you're doing, period. Right. So we categorize it, call it a keynote, call it a presentation, call it training, whatever. But there's a basic formula on delivering an important message. And when you have this basic formula, incredible individuals like yourself can now build from the pieces of that formula,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So the first one, and every powerful keynote has this, and it's a who, what, where, when, how, right? So who's your audience, right? And that transformation that you want to create for them. What's your core message? One thing, right? And we do this and we build it through the impact blueprint. Where? So is it the stage? How are you going to distribute it? Where are the audience members going to find you? What are you leaving them with? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Then when? So this 8-minute pitch that I'm going to give you this is what I coach everyone through to be able to, there's 8 questions that I can go them through and there's 1 minute allocated to each. And when you nail that, then you can expand. Because it's really hard for us to have a big, long 40-minute or 20-minute speech and then scale that back.
Mm-hmm.
So you nail the core elements and then give yourself time for breathing room, for the pauses, for the breaks, for the punchlines. Way better, right? And then the
Absolutely.
how. This is where you live, right? The how. The repeatable system connected by automation, where the doer of cool systems does stuff. What do you
That's
think
right.
about this? Helps you, doesn't it?
Oh, 100%. And when I've been and seen people speak, whether it's in a webinar or on a stage, the idea of the ones that stand out are the ones that aren't using the slides as a crutch. So they understand the content, they know what's there. And there have been times that I've gone into an event and saw somebody speak where the topic they were speaking about was not relevant to me. So I wasn't getting anything from the content because I just wasn't the audience, but I left saying this was a great presentation and I felt either inspired or whatever because they were a really good speaker. So, and that could have been from the life stories that they threw in there to even their style of delivery, right?
Yeah.
So there's all those different elements of that we use that word transformation is what type of transformations do you want to have happen from the moment the foot hits the stage to when it leaves the stage. And that could just be inspiring somebody, and it could be inspiring somebody to want to go up and become a speaker, right? There's those things versus just a whatever it is you're talking about that's in there.
It's that part, we call this no ifs, ands, or bots, right? And you and I were
Yep.
joking around and you made that song. I like, I don't like bots and I cannot lie, which is really funny and giggling. But we do like them. But it's
Mm-hmm.
that really important part, even too, of us playing with words of the no ifs, ands, or buts. Right? So when you're speaking, how do you be really clear, not utilizing if you do this, having carry on sentences and thoughts by doing and, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and the buts, challenging yourself. So, when you really become creative, when you give yourself that opportunity to deliver on that core message on what you know that you're speaking to, it's incredible, right? So many people, so many speakers, no matter again what venue, what topic, what methodology or delivery system you're utilizing it for, but the stage, especially today, is your best bet. But so many times, speakers will go on stage and their talk will vanish afterwards. Because nothing builds trust more than speaking face to face. And so,
Mm-hmm.
especially this world of technology, when we're like this, when you get in a room in front of people, you are going to need to leverage that every way, right? So you pour weeks into one talk, but you deliver it, but you don't pour into anything else. And this is what frustrates me. And this is why I love working with you, because there's a system that you build around it, right? So one talk that's delivered once, we leave so much value on the table without a system, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's huge. It's huge. The number 90% left.
Yeah, and then I see a lot of times people like they get an opportunity to speak and then suddenly they're like, I need to make a talk, right? And they're scrambling to do it, and it's a one-off, one hit, no wonder, right? Because it's
Mhm.
that type of stuff versus it becomes part of something you're building into your brand, your core messaging, and everything. Whether you even have it booked yet, but even developing that helps you with how you show up on social, how you show up at a networking event, anytime you're even doing a client meeting, just knowing that core elements. And now even the fact that we're able to connect meeting notes with AI and build this entire, I use the word a brain, right? We use a software called Obsidian that actually stores all these notes and everything on the computer, and the AI can reference those and pull back. So, the more and more you're talking and showing up, whether again it's in a webinar, in a presentation, anything that's recorded, calls that you want to record, like it will then learn and keep growing and building from that. So you can take the core big work foundation that you've done and you want to do a refresher, it can reference that and be like, you know what, you've actually been describing this over the last 6 months in your meetings this way because it picks up on patterns, right? There's something about that, right? So now it'll help you frame it the same way, so you're not different on stage than you are in person.
Yeah, that's the most wonderful, powerful way to utilize any type of tool, is to help pull the patterns, the repetitive patterns that come through. So my brain's wired that way, and I've been coaching for so many years that I start noticing and recognizing patterns when I'm coaching someone through a process. And it's even more helpful of saying, hey, Shaun, you say this all the time. You get really passionate when you say this. That's your talk, right? So there's in general, when I was coaching Matt Halloran through his TEDx, and he kept saying, it's called the ripple effect. And I'm like, no, it's not. You keep saying, and you talk about hope all the time, spreading magic, joy, and love throughout the world. It is hope. That's what you're talking about. Help one person every day. And that just becomes this grounded anchor that happens. And then you start talking about wardrobe, you start talking about delivery, you start talking about the after delivery, the distribution of your talk. There are all these things that will kind of work. So stop treating your keynote, your presentation, as the finish line, right? Because we will always write it from scratch, like you just said. They'll wing kind of the structure, we'll deliver it once to a room, and then chase the clips or never do it at all because it's a pain in the butt to pull clips from things, right? And then the message dies after the applause is done. And so when you have this turning point, you understand that when it's built on a blueprint that will actually help you prompt and make sure it's repeatable, when you train yourself and practice in like this 8-minute format that I have, when you capture it once and then repurpose it on purpose, let automation do it all for you, because an expert like yourself knows what to pull, what we are trying to pull. And then the talk becomes a system actually itself. It doesn't disappear. Because I've watched you pull so many magical things out of the coaching and the presentations and the value prop, like that impact blueprint that I built in the beginning. You know what to build and you know what to pull, right?
Yeah, and I strongly believe that any type of system or technology, whether it's a PowerPoint or audio system or whatever it is, when you are speaking, like that should only add to your message and what's there. It should not become the main anchor of it. So what I mean by that is, I've had the privilege of knowing, becoming a friend, becoming a provider for a professional speaker named Tyler Hayden here on the East Coast. He came and spoke when I was in high school. We've been friends ever since. But he still delivers the same keynote like over 20 years later, and he's talked in multiple countries. And he came out to an event and the PowerPoint wasn't working, and he was like, you know what, it doesn't matter. He's like, I can carry this without it, right? So a lot of times, like I said earlier, like you anchor a lot of it on the PowerPoint being the main thing, and I'm gonna present the PowerPoint. and to me, that's a huge problem. Whereas you are presenting the message, and the PowerPoint is either adding to it, emphasizing something. And about 15 years ago, I was at an event, and I'm a media guy, audio, video, and audio is a big, powerful thing, light, color, that type of stuff. And I always wanted to develop a presentation where all the slide was a solid color that changed based off of the message, the mood, the power, like that. That's all that was on there. Like the lighting in the room would shift when the message feeling would change, right? And use that as an emphasis. Never got to do it yet, but that's the goal with it. It is, can you hold your own in the end? And if you're just new to this, you're probably gonna suck in the beginning, right? And you need to be okay with that, right? When I coach people to be on video, I'm like, record the first 5 videos and just delete them, right? Don't even post them, because you're not going to feel comfortable with it, but you need to get in the motion of doing it and getting it out there.
Yeah, motion and doing it and hearing yourself and your delivery and watch your expressions. Like none of this, we don't practice enough. And it's very funny how we say or we call ourselves professionals at something, but we don't practice enough at it.
Hmm.
And it has to happen. True professionals practice over and over and over. I don't care what kind of presentation it is.
Hmm.
You just do. There's so many good keynote speakers out there, and we forget too. And I even got stuck in the trap too of, "Ooh, they've heard my this talk before. I'm gonna have to make another one." I'm like, no, you don't. You have to repeat and go all in. There's millions of people that are going to be listening to your message when you are approaching it the right way. So the stage is really important, but beyond the stage, like how does this all work and how do you connect all these steps? So we go through a bit of the blueprint that I'm going to show you. So we have this big, huge thing that I coach everyone through called the big work blueprint. And a part of that is that impact blueprint. And that's that entry point that everyone should do every year. And it powers everything that you do. So you get crystal clear on that singular message before you build any slide. And
Hmm.
then in Rich, this is where you and I work together, right? So we start turning the keynote, the presentation, all of that kind of thing into content across all the channels that make sense for you and that makes sense for your ideal client. And then that automation layer where you blow me away. You absolutely blow me away, right? So this is that start where step one and step two now completely grab and run with legs. Blows me away.
Hmm.
Blows me away. Okay, so here's the blueprint. If you've been following me for a while, you've probably seen this many different ways and different colors, but it's always been the same blueprint. And this is that layer that everyone needs to go through. And I don't care about giving this out there. Everyone says, why are you showing your secrets? This can be Googled anywhere. It really can. It's always the person behind pulling out the information, pulling out that true essence and mirror behind who they are. So when you understand and you build your unique value proposition into that part of who are you desiring to be and who is your target client, that person that actually takes your advice and actually puts it into action and gets the desired result they wanted to have. That's a really hard question to answer, right?
Hmm.
And I call pillars and intentions, right? So this is your 5 pieces that you are building for your action plan for the year. And it's systems and tools. It is processes and efficiencies. It is target clientele. It is financial growth. Looking at all these pieces and how it works. What's your brand formula story? And this is so many people don't understand because it's your one repeatable story that you have over and over. What marketing and media makes sense? What is the client journey when your client comes on? So the onboarding. How are you doing personal development, not just professional development? What's your monthly strategy and how do you track your pipeline? So when you build all this out and you understand this, this is what feeds the bots. This is how you prompt them the right way that they become extremely powerful. And this is what you receive from me, Shaun, right? This whole
Hmm.
layout. So how does this help you getting this layout? And how does this increase the profitability and the conversion and the connectability on people that we've worked on together? So Ryan and Dan, and there's a big list. How does this help?
Well, I mean, there's multiple elements that they could pull in, from a systems guy, one that's designing the system, having that understanding of who they are, who they're serving, how they show up, what's that appearance. So, whether it's, in one case having an AI agent responding to an initial text message, right? How should it respond back so that it can either not exactly um, fake the person out to think it's a real human, but also we want to make sure that when, the football player throws the ball to the next player, they know they're going in the same direction. That's the
Mhm.
idea, is we always want, when possible, the human to step in and continue that relationship. So, when a client jumps into an AI feed of chat messages that come there and they start to communicate, we don't want it to be like, whoa, like what happened there? Like, this is not the same. Like, this is definitely a different person that's going. So, we train it so that the messaging is right, the sentence structure is right, and all that kind of thing. you know, also when you look at systems from content, early on when I first got into marketing automation, my biggest thing was, how do I help people, you know, get multiple pieces of content out there without requiring them to have to sit and create every single piece, right? So I was calling it content amplification. Like, we take one piece of content, we amplify it across multiple different methods, right?
Yep.
So that was figuring out the pillars that are core in their content, whether it's a keynote, webinar, whatever that is, and how do you break it down to separate social media posts? How do you make other blog posts out of that? How do you do a sub like audio series, like all that stuff that's like pulling it back? Because when you do it that way, like, you're building the ocean first, right? And then you're building the rivers, and then you're building the streams, and you're building the little like trickles that are there. So when people find those little sources, they'll always, apart from the consumer side, is what's next. Like, you want them to want more. So it naturally will progress back towards that ocean that you're building, that's in there. So that's, I see it where people do it the other way. Like, I'm going to build a lead magnet, and they just build something, right? They'll go on ChatGPT and like, what kind of lead magnet should I make for a financial advisor, right? And it's like, build a calculator, right? Which you get all the time because that's what it tells you, right? But then once you do that thing, there's a huge jump from what's the next thing, because either you didn't have it built, or it just is a disconnect there, right? So doing this big work, figuring out who you are at the core, what's the essence of why people would want to hang out with you, right? You see it when you go to major conferences. There's those people that have built that kind of presence on there that people just want to be in the room with, right? They don't hang out with. That's who you should aspire to be with your clients, that they would love that time to be with you more. And when you do that, you build that sticky factor, right?
Yep. Yeah. I love it. You said something about even the funnels, or I call them filters all the time, because we take all this advice, this general advice out there that is actually meant for other industries, right? When you are working in an advice-based industry, so if you're a realtor, if you're a financial advisor, if you're a lawyer, if you're a coach, there is this part about building calculators, or everyone says start with an assessment. Those are the two big ones that everyone says. You got to have an assessment, or you're going to build a calculator. What happens when you are working with someone? This is why it's so important. So hang with me, guys. We give advice to people to utilize assessments or calculators that are based on highlighting someone's shame, highlighting someone's pain. So when you have someone emotionally based pain or trauma, what trauma is kind of an extreme word, but what's going to happen when you give them something saying, hey, you don't have enough money, or hey, you suck, or hey, you're this or that, right? You don't move past it. You don't. And that's the number one big mistake that happens. And that's why I'm okay with giving away my patterns, because what I just said is the goal. Right? So when you are building your unique value proposition, you understand that, okay, your target clientele or ideal client, that really is your branding, your imagery that you're bringing forward when you talk about that person, where they're hanging out, what their everyday looks like, right? When you're looking at their pains, problem, needs, or inner gaps, that is where that whole entire part comes together, where it's your captions, where it's your content, it's the words that you talk about, because you're going to be highlighting things saying, I understand your world, not giving filters or funnels or the assessment saying, hey, you suck, even more so. Here you go, right? It doesn't work that way. And then when you start looking at the results and benefits they'll have by doing business with you, and how you're unique and compelling and different, this is where you become biased. This is where you lean into that one thing that you are really, really good at. That's part of your identity. My hair on top of my head, my funky glasses. It's everything from your presentation to your wardrobe to all that stuff. And then that last one that happens in your value proposition of how are you different and or better, and the results and benefits someone will have by doing business with you. Man, that's where you ask them to try something. That's your billboard. That's your first billboard, easy, simple, one actionable thing that you have with supporting tools, with the automation. So looking at Ryan, we built Financial Jenga. his one thing, right? So then when we did take the quiz, it's now about the fun stuff. The language is fun.
Hmm.
Everything's fun. There's a completely different approach that people miss. That was a bit
Hmm.
of a tangent.
And I've been through this. I, I think we may run our full 60 minutes before
I
getting through
think
this
so.
presentation because there's so many stories. But I've been through this myself in my own business and development stuff, and looking at what can I anchor into something that could be a brandable asset
Yeah.
for that. So I look at all the stuff that I've helped people over the years with was how do you save time, how do you increase your follow-up so leads aren't falling through the cracks, and that's not really a sexy type thing. It's like telling people like your follow-up sucks, like why are you not doing this, right? So I landed on this concept of a bucket with holes in it and a leaky bucket, right? That's the idea.
Yeah.
So what I ended up doing was anchoring out 8 different elements that I ran into, like the entire journey that a client's on, and looking at the businesses I work with and where were they with coming up short in those areas. So I wrote, my method was I recorded audio and all those, just me talking about them. I transcribed it, I turned it into a book, which I haven't published yet, but that's the core big piece of content, was that, right? From there, took it into a 6-part audio series, but I had that core foundation of all the concepts and everything that are there. So I got asked to do a workshop, a 90-minute workshop for small businesses. Well, we used the core foundation that was there and built a 90-minute workshop. Then I got asked to do a 3-hour workshop. Now I took the core foundation and I brought it back and did that in there. And the idea of having something visual, like you mentioned, Ryan, with Jenga. Anybody that's grown up in board games understands what Jenga is, right? Even if he held one block,
You
right,
will get.
you will get it,
Yeah.
right? So that idea of when I start with let's find out where all the holes are leaking in your bucket. That's a negative thing. It's like most businesses have holes in their bucket. Let's identify the holes that aren't in your bucket first, right? What are you doing great in these areas, right?
Mm.
And that's kind of like, oh, we're celebrating that part of it. And so that whole journey of what can you anchor on something that people can relate to, right? Like when we talked to Ryan, he was like great, now I'm gonna get my own custom branded Jenga part, right? Like and even giving people a Jenga piece with something like laser etched in like a core thing that they celebrated, and giving it as a gift in a nice little box that gives like it anchors back to the core thing that you are branding on.
And you watch it, right? You and I think we're 2 years now, my friend.
Hmm.
And you watch people light up. You honestly do when it's right in their core and their essence, and it's that repeatable thing they say all the time, and it's never that first thing they think, right?
Hmm.
It's not the millennial money book or all that kind of stuff, right? It's it's when you relate it back to a non-tangible to a tangible, and you can identify with that thing, and then you positively reinforce it. It's a totally different behavioral game.
Hmm.
We're giving people a whoopee. It's that security blanket, right? I should say the right word. I call it a whoopee. But my glasses are my whoopee. These are my
Hmm.
whoopee. I have 42 pairs of glasses because they're my security blanket. They really are. They're my cape. When you give someone something to help them with their confidence and their competence, we all need it.
Hmm.
And so what you and I do is I pull the thing out and you give it volume. And that's incredible, right? Because
Hmm.
when you can multiply the talk, the keynote, the presentation, that one thing, again, it's huge. It becomes 10 blogs and newsletters and articles. It becomes 24 YouTube clips. It becomes shortcast reels and podcast clips. It becomes print and editorial. It becomes PR and media. You were talking about why aren't you on Reddit? Well, here you go. You've got 3 huge pieces plus long form blog, another 10. This
Hmm.
is huge. There's over 50 monetized or possibly monetized assets if you are in the game long enough, when you are in the game long enough.
Mhm. And a lot of that stuff can be repeated from the social side. It's like it runs a cycle and just start over, right? A lot of it, like you could even post the same thing week after week, and the same people aren't going to see it, right? So
It's or they're not, or the same people they're not going to remember.
that's
My
right.
biggest reel to date, which had was a massive amount of hundreds of thousands of views, for me was big because I don't use social for social. I use social for my brain, at dumping my brain and dumping my thoughts. But the second time I posted a video, and it was about shame, it was about um, anxiety and all that kind of stuff, and why so many people are going through this. The second time I posted, it blew up. Not the first time, the second time. Same video,
Hmm.
same video, right? No ends, ifs, or buts. So the automation, and it ties it all together. So you stay human on stage, right? That's what automation is about. And I've learned that so much from you, because I am not a fan of when people are just using it, and when people are amplifying their confusion, or where there's like, hey, I'm going to build this thing. And it does not work that way. From the dawn of time, from every tool that has ever come out, it's not just something you use haphazardly.
Hmm.
So when we kind of look at this is your big layer of this automation stuff. And I'm probably going to back off and let you kind of talk to these pieces here. But when you have all that information and you tie it all together with something, because that is where time is wasted by doing capture, repurpose, schedule, nurtures, measure. Like when you talk about those things, when we are coaching clients together, when we're working together, I sit there and I get the, oh, that's so much, like it's exhausting to me. Absolutely exhausting to me. But you make this work, right?
Hmm.
So shut up.
Yeah, and the best way to explain this is I've just recently been building this out for myself in this. So over the years, I've done the same thing that everybody does, is try to show up on every different platform that's out there, and you can't, right? You just become very minimal in all of them. So I've made the decision that um, LinkedIn is my primary platform. So I've been posting a lot of just text type posts, and some hit, some don't, but I don't get discouraged by the ones that don't, because I'm learning from it. So capturing the content and knowing what it is that I'm speaking on, is the key part, that I'm using agents to start to write content with me. I'm not going to say for me, but with
Yeah.
me. And the reason I say that is because all of the meetings that I hold with clients or prospects are being indexed. And the key part is they're being sanitized. What do I mean by that? It means that I have programmed my agent that looks at my meeting notes to pull out anything that is confidential, identifiable to the client, and only focus on advice I've given, stories I've told, right? Build that in there, and then start to make content every single week, learning from that, or listening to podcast episodes that I have posted, right? Because I have all those transcripts as well. And then
Mhm.
I review it and I look at it until I'm comfortable enough that it could be fully autonomous, right? That's the thing, is we don't want to give it full reins yet. So I'm capturing that, and that's that capturing part of it. So as it's going out, those are also they can be used in emails, right? We tend to build these nurture emails that for some reason we think that they need to be long form emails. Well, I don't read them when I get them, right? I read the ones that are 1 or 2 lines, maybe a short paragraph. I've scrolled too much, unless I'm expecting it. I signed up for something and
Yeah.
it's like, what's next, right? So I'm repurposing those pieces, which actually, the number 5 step is how I know to use those. So scheduling them out, figuring out when are they going out, right? They don't necessarily always need to go out when you're in the office, because when you're working, your clients are working probably, right? So are they on those social platforms? No, they're probably on the weekends. They're probably on the evenings, right? Start to schedule different times, and the data beats the opinion every single time. So
Mm.
again, when number 5 comes around and you're measuring that, you're looking at it, and you'd be surprised how many people do not go back and look at the stats, right? They'll see something that might pop up and they're like, oh wow, this one hit really well. I got like 100 views versus the one, which was my mom, right? It comes through, and they're like, they get excited about that, and that's it. They don't go and ask the question, why? Like,
I
maybe that one was posted at 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday or Sunday or whatever, but the rest weren't. Right? There may be something that stands out. Try it again. Does it still do it? Right? Or it could be the content. Who knows?
Yep.
Right? And then that idea of these nurtures and these automatic follow-ups. You know what? I've built for years with clients something called a high value nurture. And that was, it gets built for an entire year worth of time. Right. And by default, usually it's like every 2 weeks an email goes out, and it's never sales oriented. It's always, what's your best highlight reel of content, right? That's in there. So it's always either a podcast episode, an advice, or a link to something else, right? And maybe a YouTube video you saw that's there. But the idea is to provide value and show up in that recipient's life, that they're like, oh, this is good stuff. Like I may not watch this, but I'm not going to unsubscribe because there's good stuff that's coming in there. And the idea with those nurtures is the moment somebody raises their hand and it's like, hey, I want to book a call with you, Kim, to like, now's the time in my life that I need help. Those nurtures stop,
Yeah.
right? Because now they're in an active learning buying cycle with you. And there should be something else that's happening there, and you don't want to distract them with something, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the automated piece is, and knowing that whole system comes into play, because you as a client that has a system should never be like, I wonder what's going out now, right? You should know that when they're in my pipeline, they're only getting the pipeline stuff. When they're not in there, they're getting the nurture stuff, right? Clear as can be, right?
Nothing pisses me off. It's really nothing pisses me off more. That's very extreme. Very dramatic today. when you finally engage with someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
When I was searching for the extra partners to come into Enriched, right? We were calling the fellowship and all that kind of stuff. And I remember one person in that did the marketing and media. And so I signed up for their newsletters. Like I sign up and I creep all over the place, right? Because this is my reputation that I'm putting out on the line. And I remember signing up to their newsletter, and it was a nurture sequence. It's always going to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I've signed up and we've agreed, and I should have been put into a different, channel or pathway. And I kept getting the old nurture sequence of, hey, book an introductory call. I'm like, wow, I am not working with you, period. If you can't clean up something as simple as a system like this, and I think it's very simple, the funny thing is that you and I live in this every day, and not everyone thinks about those pieces because it's not your job and it's not your talent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just a
Yeah.
weirdo.
Well, I mean, it comes down to, I mean, I know the reason why this happens all the time is somebody gets a fancy system and they start to build something, and then they get, excited about the next thing, and then they build it on top, and they don't take into account what was below. Like, what is this affecting? So, when somebody will come and say, hey, can you add this to my automation? Sure. But we need to also look at what would that affect. What is this either replacing? What is it complementing? What needs to be turned off before something gets turned on? That type of stuff in there, and that's understanding the entire plan of it first, right? So coming back to the original question you said about, like, when you give me like all that big work there, it makes building this so much easier, because you just lay out all the foundation first, and then you start to build the walls, and the whole thing becomes an entire machine, right?
We there's so many myths that we need to debunk out there, right? So everyone thinks automation will build this, AI will build this, all of these simple, quick, and easy things. And it's not. It's actually, the more tools that you have, the more confusing it is. And you get analysis paralysis, and you try to figure out what to do here, and it's not your voice and all that kind of stuff. And it's very interesting to me. I know when someone's not ready, when we're having a conversation with someone, and it's you actually do need to pay to play to do this. You really do. It becomes extremely important for you to be able to nail this the right way and have something that you can build on and build on.
Mm-hmm.
So when you understand that the problem you need to solve, right? The goal you need to achieve is, I want to reach better clients. I want to stop banging my head up against the wall. I want to save time. I want to go live this freedom life of being an entrepreneur that everyone talks about. That's very mythical to me, right? I want my voice out there, like whatever it may be. So, well, when you understand what that problem is, And you explain again why this matters, what are the real stakes. So when you actually have your voice, when you actually know who you are, and you build the right systems and tools, you're gonna make more money.
Hmm.
And this sounds so vain, but this is what business is about. If you don't lead by profit, you should not be in business. So are you paying and collecting clicks, or are you collecting checks?
Hmm.
And that's huge, right? So when you start understanding that building this whole year, and Shaun and I are not saying this is, a couple of weeks and we're all done and it's all happy. Like this is a year. It's a lot of time, year to 6 months, like before you build all these pieces, right? We talk about Dan's or Sean's or Ryan's. I mean, it's email sequence. It's again the 3 months of figuring out who they are and who they're really talking to, fighting through that resistance that happens because you've been a certain way and there's so much noise and pollution from other clients and or other clients, other advisors when you've
Hmm.
got the comparativitis happening here, right? So when I do this delivery engine and this 8-minute pitch format that I have, it's been used for TED Talks. It's been used for TED Talks that I've helped write, coach through that have had almost 6 million worth of views. For TEDx talks, TEDx, not TED Talks, TEDx. There's a reason it
Hmm.
happens and it hits, right? We establish a problem, we explain why it matters, we describe less successful efforts, we share the turning point in the person's thinking, we explain what the solution is, we state why old way to new way, why it makes more sense, we show how we use the solution, that's the storytelling, right? And we share the results, the lumps, bumps, and triumphs,
Hmm.
right? Current reality, desired reality, gap in between. Put whatever shade of lipstick you want on it. This is the path, period.
Hmm.
Right?
And some of the conversations that I've had with people starting out, and they're like, "Well, how do I know if automation would work for me?" Right? Well, the answer is it will work for anyone. Um, but the questions I ask is to them starts with, like, how do you determine when a prospect is um, ready to work with you, right? And so if they can explain it in an offline type of non-technical way, that's great. Okay, so what do you do for that? So they tell me that, and then I'm like, okay, so when they're ready, what should happen? When they're not ready, what should happen? So that could be maybe the time's not right, it might be in a couple months, a year or so.
Yeah.
And then the biggest one, which seems to clog up a CRM so much, is what about the ones that are never a fit and never going to be there? And there's this, I don't know what goes on, but there's this reluctance to delete a
Delete
contact, right? I'm like, their email bounces, you don't have a phone number, they've never engaged in whatever. Like, can we
them.
just delete them? Like, get rid of them? Well, well, hold off on that, right? I'm like, okay. But it's weird. It's like this psychological thing of, I'm like, you're putting content out anyway. If they resurface, they can opt in, come back again, right? You
Yeah.
obviously haven't made a big impression enough to stick around and engage on it. But that's interesting. It is, when we talk about this, it's not like when you start, you're not going to have anything to work with for an entire year, right? We know where we're going to. Like, you all start school, you're going to grade 12 or 13 if you're in Ontario. Like, where the destination is. We can start in grade 1 and work with that, and then you're going to go to grade, like, you're going to move through in there. It's not like we're never going to have a system in place.
Two things.
Hmm.
We all think that it's because, again, we think it's so instantaneous, right?
Hmm.
That every person you talk to is going to be a hitter. Like we have this false pretense in our head because of all the noise out there with media and marketing when people are trying to sell you their shit,
Hmm.
right? Their crap. So they're going to put you in this false profit idealization of actually this is going to hit, you need this, you need that, and it's going to be instant. It's not. If every person you talk to, if that was the rule out there of business, we would all be multimillionaires, billionaires. Like there wouldn't even be a number, right?
Hmm.
The other part that you said, which was, I just totally had a brain fart. I was so excited and I totally lost it. It'll come back to me, or else it's media for another day, or it wasn't that important.
Mhm.
Oh, lost it. Boo! Now it's going to bug me. Okay, the payoff. 50 plus assets, 24 times long form content, 3 income streams. You can even have AdSense, you can have affiliate offers, you can have all these pieces that all make sense to your ideal client, where they hang out, what matters to them, and what does that experience look like, right? What do you put it all through? And you don't lose any more hours, right? This is the difference between giving a talk and building an actual asset. Are you a business owner that sells watermelon for $1 a slice? Or are you an entrepreneur that turns that watermelon into a specialty drink and charging $9 for the floofy drink? Which
Mhm.
one are you, right? And that's who we work with. I don't want the business owners. I don't want the easy, simple, trucking away happy. I want the high performers that we get to do really cool things with. Those are the ones that change the world. And that is a very difficult, exciting path to go down. And you cannot do it by yourself. Can't.
Nope.
Still can't remember what I was going to say. Boo. The path, start to finish. So, how this all connects. Impact Blueprint, it's something I've been coaching this for 6 years. It has been designed over, I'm getting close to 35,000 professional hours, coaching hours now. So there's a whole lot of test cases that have gone through. Like, again, set the stage for everything you do. If you want to start delivering a talk or a presentation, which I feel that every business owner should have, period. One talk, period. We have the enriched engine. So that starts to multiply everything. How do we put that out there? Automation, you deploy it all, and that reach and revenue becomes everywhere. Because you're going to have this out there. Sometimes when people say, you got to post X amount of times a day, and most of the time I look at it going, are you kidding me? There's no way I can do it. But you have to be able to do that now, especially with the volume of people on different media sources, things like that. And people, I feel, have it the wrong way. They think it's very interesting. They think they're going to be discovered on social media, where it's usually when they meet someone in person or you deliver a keynote or something, that's where they come in to find you.
Mhm.
They usually don't come through the social media path, right? They found you on Instagram or LinkedIn. It's more the ones that convert. The ones
Mhm.
that convert meet you, then follow you. What do you think?
100%. 100%. Because like we're longing for that connection piece that's there, whether they've physically talked to you, but if they've been in the same room, or as I say, you share the air with them.
Yeah.
Like that's the key part, because we have so many people that can appear credible online, and they
Mm,
never actually show up anywhere, right? So the level of trust, the BS radars are at their highest sensitivity that they've ever been, at every level of life. So we're going to see more of that need to show up in again.
I agree with you 100%. And that's what I was going to talk about before. You just totally reminded me. It is that part about being out there in front of people because of the scam, because of the worriness. Again, how many times have you calmed me down with people that I've watched that I know have no clue on what they're talking about? And it is just some pretty fancy assets that they've made, but put them on stage beside me and I eat them for breakfast, but everyone's cheering for them. That's just a reality now,
Hmm.
right? It's just a reality. Get in front of the people and find a way. And I think every single person in business that is in an advice-based industry, so coaching, consulting, real estate, lawyers, advisors, period, really need to have that one thing that they talk about that will help them actually have and take and honor the room. So when you bring that coaching system together and that automation, you turn it into an asset that's just incredible. I knew we were going to go all the way today. That was awesome. Really liked it. Is there anything you want to kind of close up with today?
No, I mean, this was so packed with amazing stuff, and I must say I love the green.
I do too. I think we're going green. I like the green better. It makes me happy and excited. Because Enrich was always supposed to be green, and then they approached the pink and purple, or sorry, pink and blue to make purple in the middle to talk about everyone deserves their own approach. So I think Enrich to stay in green. I like it. I like it. Let us know, guys, if you like it. Okay, I will see you next week and have a great week, everyone. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Bye.